We're moving in a more youthful direction, Elena. Your style doesn't quite resonate with Gen Z decision-makers anymore. That's what Chase Morgan, our newly crowned CEO, 35, slick haircut, sneakers that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage, told me across a reclaimed wood conference table last Tuesday. My name is Elena Ruiz, 16 years. I'd spent 16 years building the client relations department at Solentra Digital from a literal Excel spreadsheet into a national portfolio of brands who called me by name and sent me photos of their kids at Christmas. And now, I was being dismissed like last season's marketing trend. I kept my expression neutral, just like I had during 100 client crisis calls. He continued, "We're looking for voices that can better engage with our audience. More agile, more digital native, you know? Translation: cheaper and younger." I nodded slowly. "I understand," I said. Because I did. Not because he was right, but because the decision had already been made. Chase didn't want a conversation. He wanted a clean exit. As I packed my things into a single, embarrassingly small box, I passed by the wall of awards I'd helped the agency win: Campaign of the Year, Client Loyalty Excellence, and 2, Best Retention Strategies. I'd built those with long nights, weekend calls, and actual relationships. Clients didn't sign with Solentra because we had trendy TikToks. They stayed because I answered the phone at 10 p.m. during a PR disaster, and never made them feel small. Lisa from operations tried to meet my eyes as I left. She didn't have to say anything. Her silence was familiar, the same kind you get from people who know something's wrong but aren't in a position to fix it. That was fine. I wasn't going to rage post on LinkedIn or scream in a parking. I left quietly. But I left with the one thing Chase didn't think mattered: trust. Not files, not pitch decks, trust. My contacts weren't in a CRM. They were in my life. And while Chase was busy talking about optimization funnels and content disruptors, I was already reviewing messages from former clients who had texted me. "Heard the news. Where are you headed next?" They didn't call the company. They called me. 2 days after I left Solentra, I got a message from Jordan Liu, one of the co-founders of ArcLight Collective, a boutique agency in downtown Austin that I'd always respected for doing things the right way. No jargon, no ego, just smart people doing honest work. Jordan and I had bumped into each other at conferences over the years. She said she heard what happened and asked if I wanted to grab coffee. No pressure, just coffee. We met at a little place near South Congress, and it felt more like a reunion than an interview. After an hour of catching up and trading war stories, she leaned in and said, "We're growing faster than we expected. We need someone who knows how to actually hold a client's hand, not just click through a dashboard." Then she added, "We want to build something real, with people who still care. People like you." I said yes that afternoon. But here's the thing. I didn't send out any flashy announcement. No mass emails. No dramatic new chapter post with 5 hashtags. I simply sent quiet notes, personal, brief, to the assistants, VPs, and brand managers I'd worked with for years. Just a quick update to let them know I was no longer at Solentra and had accepted a new role at ArcLight. I included my new contact info. That's it. No pitch, no ask. The first reply came from Lauren at Haven Naturals. "Good for you. Honestly, I've been meaning to reassess our direction. Expect a call from us." Then it was Brent from Dynamo Wear. Then Ava from Marlowe Tech. Within 5 days, 6 brands, not small startups but national-level names, had pulled their contracts from Solentra, quietly, efficiently, without a single sales deck or campaign teaser from me. What Chase didn't understand was this. People don't follow agencies. They follow consistency. They follow people who show up. When a product recall hits the news on a Friday night, they follow the person who remembers their daughter's name, who knows the real reason they pushed back a campaign launch, Not because of metrics, but because their mother was in hospice care. I didn't poach a single client. I didn't need to. Solentra was just a name on the invoice. I was the person who picked up the phone. By Monday, Lisa from accounting at Solentra texted me. Chase is panicking. Board wants to know why clients are walking. No one's saying anything officially. But they all keep mentioning you. I smiled, sipping coffee at my new desk at ArcLight. There was no anger in me. No vindication even. Just a deep, quiet sense of justice. Because this wasn't about getting even. It was about proving that relationships, not trends, were what truly held the business together. And they'd just pulled the thread. By Thursday, the 6th client had officially pulled out. And by Friday morning, I started getting the calls. Not from clients, but from inside Solentra. First came a hushed voicemail from Jen, who still worked in business ops. Heads up, Elena. Chase is losing it. He just told the board you deliberately undermined client confidence after your departure. Her voice dropped. He's trying to paint you as the reason they're hemorrhaging contracts. I didn't even flinch, because here's what Chase never got. Trust isn't something you can transfer. It's earned in 100 small ways. Not with PowerPoints and jargon, but with real conversations at 11 p.m. when a launch is going sideways and a client just needs someone to care. That wasn't on any CRM. That lived in me. So when Chase went on the offensive, launching a formal internal investigation and accusing me of violating non-solicitation agreements and stealing proprietary data, I didn't even bother reacting. Because I hadn't taken anything. No spreadsheets, no files, no pitch decks. Just 16 years of human connection and a Rolodex that lived entirely in my memory. But that didn't stop him from trying. I got an email from Solentra's legal team. Or rather, a poorly written threat disguised as a compliance inquiry. They wanted access to my personal laptop, claimed I might have exported client info. I forwarded it to ArcLight's legal counsel, who took one look and said, "They're grasping, let them come." Meanwhile, the real drama was unfolding inside. "Solentra!" Jen called again, this time sounding more shaken than before. "Elena," she whispered. Chase tried to blame the losses on a hostile former employee deliberately targeting the agency. The board's not buying it. They brought in external auditors. IT already pulled system logs. There's zero evidence you accessed any sensitive files before leaving. She hesitated, then added, "But the bigger problem? Clients are telling the board directly that they left because you're gone. Not because of anything you said, just because you're not there anymore." It was ironic. I didn't burn a bridge. Chase just blew up the highway trying to prove I had matches. I sat at my desk at ArcLight that afternoon and reread an email I'd just received from Lauren at Haven Naturals. "You didn't have to say a word, Elena. The silence at Solentra speaks volumes. Thank you for always showing up, not just as a professional, but as a human." That one email said more than Chase's entire rebrand campaign. Let the board investigate. Let Chase scramble. I didn't come for revenge. But the truth? He fired a bridge builder. And now he was stranded on the wrong side of the river. Monday, 8:03 a.m. I got a text from an unknown number. "Coffee?" 9 a.m. at Larkspur Cafe. "It's Chase. Just talk." I almost laughed. The man who called me outdated for not using TikTok to pitch financial clients now wanted to talk. But curiosity, or maybe the quiet satisfaction of watching him, sweat, pulled me there. He was already seated when I arrived. Crisp blazer, no tie, faux casual. His smile tried to hide the tension in his eyes. "Elena." He nodded like we were old friends. "Thanks for meeting me. I figured enough damage has been done on both sides." I didn't sit. "Is that what you think this is? Damage?" He gestured to the chair. "Please, sit. I'll get to the point." I sat, not for him, but for Me. Because there's something about watching a man try to fix what he broke without knowing how. We can make this stop, he said. I've got board pressure, obviously. The client exits look bad, but I believe we can turn this around. Maybe even collaborate. I raised an eyebrow. You and I both know they left because of you. So here's my offer. We bring you on as a strategic partner, unofficial, of course. You help us stabilize the accounts, or at least stop the bleed. We compensate you generously. And what happens to ArcLight? I asked. He waved a hand. They're new. They'll understand. It's not personal, just business. I took a slow sip of my coffee, then leaned in. You fired me because you didn't understand that clients aren't data points. You looked at my salary and my age and decided I was replaceable because I didn't engage with influencers or talk in buzzwords. You never once asked why those clients stayed. His face hardened. Don't make this emotional, Elena. I'm trying to be pragmatic. That's your problem, I said. You've built a company on impressions and impressions alone. But the relationships? The trust? Those took years. He opened his mouth to respond, but I cut him off. I'm not here to undo what's happened. I'm here to offer something smarter, something sustainable, not war, a collaboration. He blinked. Shared service teams, I continued. Clients choose their lead firm, Solentra or ArcLight, but both agencies provide value. Joint oversight, cross-platform coordination. Clients win. Nobody loses everything. Chase stared, stunned. That's unorthodox. It's the future, I said. Co-opetition, not combustion. He looked down at his untouched espresso. You'd actually be open to that? I stood. If, and only if, your ego isn't louder than your common sense. I don't work under you. I work with people who understand why trust matters. Then, I walked out. He didn't follow, but I could feel it. The beginning of a pivot, not a surrender, a reckoning. 2 days after my conversation with Chase, my phone rang with a number I hadn't seen in years. Elena, the familiar voice said. Calm and grounded, it's Richard Lynn. I stopped walking. Richard, the founder of Solentra. The man who built it from his garage with a second-hand iMac and a $5,000 credit card limit. He retired 3 years ago, sold his shares, and vanished into vineyard life in Oregon. He hadn't called me since his farewell dinner. I'm guessing. You've seen what's happening, I said, already knowing the answer. He chuckled. Let's just say the board is waking up from a Chase-induced fever dream. They asked me to consult informally, get perspective, and when they saw 42% of annual client revenue gone or walking, guess whose name came up? I didn't respond. Elena, they want to talk. The board, I mean. Privately. No Chase, no smoke and mirrors. That Friday, I walked into a downtown conference room that still smelled faintly of eucalyptus and ambition. 6 board members sat around the oval table, some familiar, some new. Their faces were serious, measured. Richard sat at the head, not officially back, but clearly guiding the ship again. We'll be brief, said Karen Rhodes, one of the longer-serving members. We underestimated your value. Chase's strategy cost us more than we anticipated. Understatement of the year. We've terminated his contract, she continued, effective immediately, and we're prepared to offer you full oversight of a new cooperative framework between Solentra and ArcLight, if you're willing. I raised an eyebrow. You want me to fix what you helped break? Richard leaned forward, his tone softer. We want to rebuild, properly, with the person who understands that clients aren't just brands, they're relationships. I took a breath. I'll do it, on one condition. They waited. We do this publicly, transparently. Clients deserve to know the culture here is changing, not just the names on the door. Karen nodded slowly. Agreed. The formal documents were signed 3 days later. We called it the Crossover model. Dual firm account service with cross-trained teams, coordinated strategies, and a rotating liaison system to ensure no client ever fell through the cracks. Clients loved it. Staff, especially the ones burned by Chase's reshuffles, found renewed purpose. Elena Ruiz, outdated, unfit for Gen Z marketing, was now Chief Relationship Officer for both agencies. Richard called me that night. "You've turned being discarded into a blueprint for the future." "I didn't need revenge," I said. "Just a reminder to the industry. Relationships don't go out of style." He laughed, proud. "Let me know when you're ready to take over the vineyard, too." I smiled at the thought, but for the first time in months, I wasn't looking to escape anymore. The first decision I made as Chief Relationship Officer? No mass layoffs. Everyone braced for it, Solentra's staff especially. They'd seen what Chase did to the last regime. When someone new steps in, especially the person brought in after a scandal, people expect blood. But that wasn't me. Instead, I held a town hall, not in some sterile conference room, but in the open floor break area with everyone standing in a wide, uncertain circle. I stood beside a whiteboard and a pot of strong black coffee. "I'm not here to punish anyone," I began. "I'm here to rebuild." There was a long pause. No one clapped, which was perfect, because this wasn't a campaign. It was a reckoning. I spent the next 6 weeks meeting one-on-one with every single Solentra employee, account execs, interns, project leads, even the front desk receptionist. I didn't talk about KPIs. I asked about clients, about conversations they remembered, what went wrong, what used to go right. And slowly, the tone began to change. Instead of fear, there was purpose. The junior account rep who'd been told she was too soft on clients? I put her in charge of our new empathy mapping initiative. The strategist Chase hired for her TikTok know-how? I paired her with a veteran from ArcLight to redesign our hybrid campaign model. No one was discarded. We just reset the compass. At the formal partnership announcement, the room buzzed with media, clients, and team members from both agencies. It wasn't flashy, no balloons or DJ, just a clear podium and real people. When I stood to speak, I looked out at faces that had been bruised, but not broken, and I told them the truth. Clients don't choose based on pricing sheets or buzzwords, I said. They choose people. People who understand them, who show up when it's inconvenient, who don't need a meeting to make things right. That landed, not because it was new, but because it was real. I ended with this. I didn't win because I fought harder. I won because I never stopped caring. About the work, about the people, about doing things the right way. The applause was quiet at first, then grew, and when I walked off stage, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt peaceful, like I'd carried something heavy for a long time, and finally set it down without breaking it. If you've made it this far, thank you. Elena's story isn't just about career redemption. It's about the quiet power of doing the right thing even when it's not trendy. Like this post if it resonated, drop a comment if you've ever been underestimated, and don't forget to hit subscribe to catch more stories just like this, because sometimes the strongest comeback doesn't even raise its voice.